Good morning or good afternoon, depending what time you are hopping on and watching this. My name is Stephen Farillo, and today we're going to be going over the $1 million baby strategy. So it is a revolutionary new way for families to think about leaving a legacy to their children, their grandchildren, their nieces or nephews, or really any of the children in your life that you care so much about. So, the $1 million baby strategy was introduced in the best selling book, How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. It is the first financial education book that anyone at any age and any learning level can enjoy and benefit from age 10 to age 100 and everyone in between. And speaking of the number 100, the book has now been featured on over 100 prominent TV shows, including CNBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News, and many others. Also, it's received a rare endorsement by the Heartland Institute of Financial Education. And of course, it's all over the web. So please follow How Money Works on Instagram for weekly tips and practical ideas. All of this is part of the exciting mission to make the knowledge of how money works the critical life skill that's not taught in schools. It's not taught in your workplaces typically, and usually not taught by your parents, making that more accessible to every family and every parent, which brings us to our topic today. So if there's about to be a new little one in your life, regardless of whether it's your child, grandchild, or a new niece or nephew, you always want that child to have it better than you did. That's natural. And the example you're going to be seeing today is an example of how to reimagine how parents and families can leave a legacy to their kids. It's a strategy that applies the power of compound interest and also the time value of money in a way that makes the traditional end of life wealth transfer seem old fashioned and really unnecessary. And we call it $1 million baby. So think about it as one of the greatest gifts that you could leave to a child, a future. $1 million baby is a common sense strategy that empowers families to create a legacy for their children without having to be wealthy. Would you have guessed that only 20% of children will actually receive an inheritance? It's probably even lower now that so many people have faced the challenges of 2020 and even now in 2021. So, in light of this sad statistic in our present reality, it's time to completely rethink how parents can leave a legacy. If you want to give your child $1 million at their retirement, which of these two options is more likely? You can either give them each $1 million in cash when they're adults and you've saved enough, or you develop a plan to save a fraction of that amount for each child when they're young. So we know how hard it is for retirement aged parents to preserve an inheritance for adult children. With seniors living longer, almost all of their savings may be required to cover decades of expenses, including their medical bills and long term care. This new reality of longevity can remove the possibility of leaving an inheritance the old way. And since it's so hard to leave an inheritance today, why not use one of the greatest financial asset that your child has, which is time? They have an entire life of it. So what could the power of compounding do for your child over 67 years? So let's actually take a look at that. $1 million baby leverages three simple money concepts: the power of compound interest, excuse me, the time value of money, and wealth protection. This is one of my favorite quotes here. Nelson Henderson said, "The true meaning of life is to plant trees. under whose shade you do not expect to sit. And so could you use the money principles you've learned today to save $1 million for your child or your grandchild? It's actually a lot easier than you would think. So the following examples are simply just to illustrate how this strategy can work. In this example, Dana puts $13,000 aside one time and leaves it there from her daughter's birth until her daughter turns age 67. It grows at just a 6.5% to a little over $1 million. So a one-time investment of $13,000 at birth will grow to $1 million. Now, if Dana wants, if she waits until her daughter graduates from high school, her daughter only receives about $300,000 when she turns 67. So what a huge difference 18 years can make. And Hector doesn't have $13,000 just sitting around, but he still wants his son to be able to retire with $1 million. And he and his relatives can work together to save just $2,500 now, and then just $250 each month for the next 4 years. And then voila, like magic, they'll hit that same goal too. And his son will also retire with $1 million waiting for him. If Hector decides to wait until his son turns 18 years old, in the same story as if Dana had waited, much less, a little over $300,000 again. So huge difference that 18 years can make with the power of compound interest. And so we're actually developing a calculator that will allow you to play with the numbers to see what it might look like. But in the meantime, you can reach out to me, your financial professional, and help you decide. 250 children born every minute could live a completely different life if their parents and their grandparents did this for them when they were young. And so now you see why we call this strategy the $1 million baby. How appreciative would your kids or your grandkids be one day, perhaps when you're gone, that their parents thought about their future, knew how money works, and they acted in love to take care of them. That's a big thank you that could change your legacy forever. And so this slide here shows how sucker-minded people will leave all of it to chance. They may not consciously think it, but they're embracing a notion that sounds something like this. I hate to say it, but my kids will probably have to fend for themselves. They'll be lucky I don't end up moving into their basement. and the wealthy-minded think radically different. They realize what a dream come true it would be to give their children a financial advantage their kids could count on for the future. Their mindset sounds more like this. If there's an affordable way to set up my kids to be taken care of in their later years, my family and I will get it done. The sucker is resolved to accept limitations. They don't know any other possibility. The wealthy, on the other hand, they use empowerment of education to do so much more for their families. It's all a matter of knowing how money works and acting when their children are young. And so this brings us to the end of this presentation. And now you know an entirely new way to think about leaving a legacy for your children or grandchildren in your life. And instead of feeling regret at the end of our lives as how little we were able to give, we only need to give a little at the beginning of their lives. And then one day down the road, no matter how many mistakes they make along the way, they will marvel at how much you were able to provide for them. And so I invite you to get together with your financial professional or myself right away. Don't let another week go by on this. As you could tell from the longer you wait, the less money that will compound for them. And so there are a lot of other options and possibilities, no matter where you are with your personal finances, to put this $1 million baby strategy in place for your kids. And so I'd be happy to set up a time with you today or after you watch this presentation. So either that or within the next few weeks. So thank you so much for watching this presentation, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thank you.